Hello, welcome to the Unsung Veteran. Today I'm joined by Matt Lange, a retired Marine. What do you want to talk about?
Hey, I'm down to talk about whatever. I mean, first, I guess I'll introduce to your people, right? Matt Lang, retired Master Gunnery Sergeant, did 22 years in the Marine Corps. Served with John out in Yuma at MOTS, the premier weapons school of the Marine Corps and the world, of course. That's what we got to say. Um, but no, joined back in 2003. One of the reasons why I joined, I had played college baseball, but I tell everybody I'm not one of them guys that played college baseball and I could have went pro if I would have just, done whatever. No, I was mediocre at best, man. I was good enough to go to college for a little bit, and then I found out that everybody was good, real good. So kind of got smoked out of that. Didn't know what I wanted to do, and my father was a retired first sergeant, so I'm like, yeah, Marine Corps seems like the way to go. I joined in 2003 and I enlisted in aviation operations. So at the time, I have no clue what I'm doing. I think I'm going to be a door gunner out of a helo because that was the sexiest job that I could come up with at the time. Turns out I accidentally scored high on my ASVAB enough to become an air traffic controller. Uh, Where that came from, don't know. There's a lot of good guesses, I guess, but turned out to be an air traffic controller. And again, I'm a 20-year-old guy. I have no idea what that is. I think it's the dude with the sticks, you know, marshaling people down a runway and just being lame, right? But did that, get through boot camp, end up going through MCT, all the things, and then I go to Pensacola, start to train to become an air traffic controller, and find out that wow, it's a lot more than just sticks. A lot of knowledge, a lot of understanding of aviation operations, how aircraft maneuver, safety procedures, all these things. And I started to fall in love with it. End up going to Okinawa as my first duty station. And within the first month I was in the fleet, I saw my first crash, my first helicopter crash. And that kind of had me set and guessing, like, do I really want to do this or not? This is a dangerous thing to do. But watching the controllers act, 2004, I believe, I want to say it was August of 2004, had a 53 crash into the Okinawa College. It's all over the news. Tail rotor fell off, aircraft crashes. The aircrew survives because, some of our fellow crash fire rescue guys, cheers to you guys, jumped the fence, pulled them out. They saved their life before it exploded. So it was awesome. But watching the controllers, the way they handled that mess and knowing that they were dealing with other aircraft in the air and they still had to deal with this, and the way they did it was flawless. It was smooth. It was like nothing was even happening. I knew that that was a job for me. Um, After that, went through my career, deployed twice to Iraq. First was Ramadi, Iraq in 2007. I was out there with retired Lieutenant Colonel Benjamin Kiley. Uh, and he was a MOTS guy as well, and ended up being a part of our Pentagon crew for ATC to kind of manage the entire area. Um, he took me out there and he kind of inspired me to stay in. So I reenlisted the next year in Iraq and Alticatum, TQ, as everybody knows it. Um, when I reenlisted there, I'd never looked back. It was like, I know a lot of people are kind of go through it, and air traffic control is one of them jobs that you end up being able to get out and make a lot of money. It was the Marine air traffic control side, the way we employed with our fellow members of the DASC, the TAC, the TAOC, which I had no clue about until I went to Iraq and actually figured out that there were other people out there that would talk to airplanes other than me. Blew my mind. I couldn't believe it. Um, but then I started meeting some of these individuals, and they were just sharp as nails. They knew what they were doing with the aircraft. They knew exactly what they wanted to do, and being a part of that was huge. So I decided to stay in, and said, I'm not getting out. You'd have to kill me to get me out." And sure enough, they tried. The Marine Corps tried to kill me
Yeah.
in several instances. Uh, After that, I go to Cherry Point, get facility rated there, meet a lot of quality people. Then I go to Pensacola to be an instructor. That by far was one of the hardest jobs I've ever had in my life. being an instructor of a craft that is so meticulous, and John, you probably know this, that, obviously being a TAOC guy, data links, like, what we like to call in our biz, we always mess around. We're like the super nerds, right? You guys were like the super tip top of like understanding the connectivity between all of these organizations. Um, Going down there and trying to teach something, as basic as air traffic control is in the system, the basic rules and understanding to a whole bunch of 18-year-old kids, man, I would say it made me want to beat my head against the wall. And not because I had duty 3 times a week, for 24 hours and not sleep post. It was going in there every day and explaining some of these rudimentary rules that I can look at, my current Marines and say, "Hey, do you understand this?" They say, "Yes." So really helped me grow a lot as a person. Um, After
Hey.
that, went back to Cherry Point, did some more stuff with Max 2, became an ops chief and was doing a lot of stuff there. And then I get the call that says, "Hey, you're going to MAWTS-1." And I'm like, man, I just went through that course not too long ago and I feel unprepared. Like those were some of the highest level of instructors, people, Justin Hackworth and all those guys that were there. They were amazing instructors, amazing people to get knowledge from. They understood so many things about the MOS and how it integrates with other things and a lot of details that I had never really sat down and said, this is what I actually do. I kind of just did it. So I go there to become an instructor, and then that's where I meet you, and I meet Bruffy and Step and all these guys that were huge influences on my career because up until that point, I had never been to a place where everybody was as good, if not better, than me in the majority of things. There were things I wasn't the greatest air traffic controller. So any of you watching this that are air traffic controllers, I'm not saying that I'm the best air traffic controller ever lived. I'm definitely not. I'm good enough to do my job. But I was very good at being a Marine air traffic controller, I think. Um, when I get to MOTS and I see all these professionals that are just on top of their game, and in the first part of it, it was intimidating. And what was even more intimidating is that I get there and I find out that I happen to be the senior guy at the time, to be the C3 chief.
You're
And in
welcome.
my mind, I'm thinking, I don't know how to lead these guys. I don't know how to lead a John Smith who is a professional in his field, super tack dude, knows everything about data links. I don't know squat. How am I supposed to tell him this is what he's supposed to do? So what I started to do is I just started to interact with you guys and talk to you about your jobs, trying to figure out what you do, because I know I'm never going to be as good as you guys, but what I am going to do is understand it so I can not ever influence what you do on a daily basis, except for give you the tools that you need to succeed. And I think that's where we all became friends, is nobody ever thought, and this is my opinion, of course, and you obviously tell me otherwise. You're like, sometimes I want to tell you shut up, but I never stuck
You
my
should have.
nose in anybody's business other than to find out what they needed help with and what I could take off their plate. That way they could go do their thing and be the best in their current field. And then, because ATC to me was natural. It was fun to teach. I'm a natural speaker. If anybody can't tell, I'm running my mouth nonstop. Um, I love to talk to people, but one of the things I love most about meeting all of you guys is finding out, what brought you to that path and how you got so good at things that, on the surface, when people look at them, just like, to you guys, it's easy, but to 99% of the populace, you're just looking at it like, how in the hell does this guy know all this stuff? Even looking at Jay over there, whenever we're talking about me talk stuff, Jay Mincola is such a, great influence to all of us. I think, he left a lasting impression on everybody that he's met. I know that for a fact. Me talk to us just seems, oh, hey, you're a weather guy, hey, there's a 50% chance that it's probably raining. But once you start to talk to Jay and you realize how much science, how much effort, how much meticulous grinding of information it takes for him to come to these conclusions, you just you have a newfound respect for all these other jobs, and MOTS was perfect for me because it took me back to college where I kind of ran from that. I ran from the fact that everybody was all just as good at baseball, if not better than me at baseball. And instead of stepping up to the challenge and trying to improve myself, I ran from it and chose the Marine Corps.
Let me stop you right there because you just went on like a 10-minute. I think everybody knows like everything you've done the Marine Corps up to MOTS right now.
Yeah. Hey, that's what I do. I said
No,
I'm blabbering off.
no, I think it's great, dude. I kind of want to slow down and kind of peel back the onion because I'm learning stuff about you right now talking to you. And yeah, like you did mention, we worked together and yeah, I think MOTS for me was the same thing, man. You get to this one, I was also overwhelmed. I didn't, I like, I think I fought kicking and screaming going there. I didn't want to go there. Um, but then when I did get there, you get surrounded by, like I always describe the military as full of like 10%, right?
Yeah.
Like you got your 10% top tier guys, and gals, and then you got your 10% bottom tier, like just get those guys out of the way. And then you got the 80% in the middle, right?
Right.
And I think that's the same way for all services. Like if you look at all Army and Air Force, I think they can probably do the same description. But Moss was like a unique place where the top 10% thrives and lives, and then we build each other.
Right.
And if you find out quickly if you don't humble yourself when you come in that door, you're going to get eaten alive. And there are some people that didn't, and they struggled a little bit more, I would say. But I think, yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed most of my time there. I would say there's some hard days, obviously, but I wouldn't change it. Yeah, definitely challenges you. I didn't continue afterward though, so I just kind of, all right, that's enough for me. I'm out. I'm done.
No, and to be honest with you, like I was at that point too. I was in, whenever I got selected to master guns and they pulled that little prank on me where they pulled me upstairs and they're like, they had a Lowe's application on my desk because I told everybody, I was in the zone with two other really qualified guys. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to have any hard feelings of not being selected. These guys are great. They'd make good master guns if I got passed. And if I do, I'm going to retire. That's kind of where I was. Is like I didn't mind retiring out of MOTS simply because, so like, you're at the top of your game. You're retiring on the top, regardless of whether or not you decided to keep going or whatever. You made it to the pinnacle of the C3 environment. Where we're instructing these guys how to employ systems. You can't beat that. And all of us had all these things at our disposal. So I was ready to get out. And then they told me that I got selected. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take it because I feel like I got a little more in the tank. As we get to, excuse me, as we get to, the next portion of my career, that little more in the tank was definitely just a little more in the tank. That's all I had left. So,
I mean, did you see it harder in your career, as like, yeah, I mean, you said you feel like you have a little bit more in the tank, and I mean, I believe you did, man. You had a lot more energy than some of us up there. You were the right guy to be the. I mean, I would see it being harder to be the senior enlisted advisor as well around a bunch of stubborn people like
oh,
myself, but
I
me
loved it
being probably
though.
the most stubborn.
No, you
But
guys,
no,
you,
like,
you guys had me cracking up all the time just because, there were certain things that Corey Belton, whenever he would sit me down in the office, we'd be talking about something. He's like, hey, we gotta do this. And then we have these things. And I know your schedule. I know Bruffy's schedule. I know Step's schedule. I know what you guys are doing. And I'm looking at Corey like, you're going to make me go and tell these guys this right now. Because I know that, and him and I would have some very good conversations about what we want to do. But at the end of the day, I would always come out there and I'm like, okay, I got to approach these guys in a certain manner, and I got to come up with a way that they can do a little bit and I can do some extra because I tried to fill those gaps, like I said.
well,
And so there were many times I would tell Corey, I was like, hey, Corey, how about I take care of the 80% of this. And then if I ask John to do this, he'll be fine with it because it won't take him but 20 minutes. And then,
well,
or
ma
yeah,
yeah. Well, Corey, I mean, me and him go way back because he was my deck commander at EWC. So we had a work-in history, right? And I felt the fact that my desk was right next to his office, right next to your desk as well.
Yeah.
There'd be times that he'd come out there and be like, "Goofy, you need to do this crap." And I'm like, "All right."
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I couldn't
He
tell a guy
was good.
no.
He was good at that. I love working for Corey, and you know, it was actually weird. Our first interaction, see, I'd never met Corey, but, you know, Bruffy was there, you were there, you guys had history with him. He knew, you know, Gerlach and some of the other guys that were there originally. Like he had already established a relationship with you guys. Him and I had never met. So I remember that this was hilarious that, you know, I'm the C3 chief. Duran is just leaving, right? So he's turning it over to me. Duran gave me a good breakdown of what to do, but I still didn't know what to expect because I'm like, I don't know how to lead a bunch of peers. That's probably the hardest thing. And I would say that to anybody in the military right now. If you're watching this, leading your peers is the hardest thing to do. Leading subordinates, that's not that big of a deal because the Marine Corps has a structure for that. You know, if you're a master sergeant and they're gunnies, at the end of the day, you're gonna make them listen as long as you're not doing unlawful crap to them.
Right.
But you know, me as a master sergeant, and then John as a master sergeant, Bruffy, all these guys. If I tell him, "Hey, you're doing this," like, who the hell are you to tell me that I'm doing this? You know, regardless of where you sit. So that's probably one of the hardest things to do. And I remember Corey. He's like, "Well, let me see what this guy's got." And the morning report was a big thing at the time. And at Max 2, we would do the morning report late. We would do all this stuff from time to time where the morning report wasn't that bad. It's like, oh my God, it's 10 minutes late, not a big deal. Corey was very meticulous about having everything in order because his big thing was, obviously, if we do all the little things right, they won't come after us from the head shed to like all these extra things that we got to do. And he was right. Well, I go on a trip with Powell and one other person. We're doing an instructor trip, and we're in Miramar. I try to get on my computer to do the morning report. I get every report from everybody, and I can't log in. And I get a call from Corey. You know, we get a text message saying, "The morning report was late. The sergeant major's upset." Da, 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 da. He just, you know, he lets me know. And I just feel defeated. The one thing that he wanted me to do to show him that I could step up to it was as simple as a morning report. I beat myself up for that for a while. And if Travis, you ever have him on here, ask him about it. I was
I think
so
I
distraught.
remember that exact situation about the morning report. Because you were saying you were TAD or something at the time?
Right.
Or some people were TAD. Yeah, I think it was, like, just a drop in, like, who was gonna take it over after you left or whatever.
Yeah. And that was the biggest thing is I never set that up, which I should have, but I was like, again, it was me looking at you guys saying, I don't want to give them my responsibility. I want to be able, I took my computer. I don't want to burden you guys with stuff that's not your thing. And that was me trying to earn your all's trust. Like, "Hey, John, can you do the morning report for me?" "Dude, you're just going to Miramar, you know, you're,
No, man, I wouldn't have been that way.
yeah. In my mind, though, that's how I thought because, you know, we were all still getting to know each other. So I
That's
end up
true.
screwing that up, and Corey says something to me, and he says something to Travis, who's my ATC boss, and I'm just distraught. I'm telling Travis, I was like, I couldn't log in. I need to get a hold of Sergeant Major, and it was so stupid now looking back at it because that's what Corey wanted. Corey didn't care about the fact that the morning report was late, and it took me a while to figure this out because I had to get to know him. Corey didn't care that the morning report was late. Corey wanted to see if I had that passion for wanting to accomplish the little things. That's what he wanted to see. And he saw me get pissed, and it actually made him happier that I was mad that I screwed that up. And I couldn't believe it. And years later, a couple of years after we had been working together and all of us had developed that relationship, we had talked about it. I was like, I knew it. I knew that that's what you wanted, but he got the exact person that I think that he wanted, was somebody who gave a shit about the 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 fine things that get you put on the radar. If we knock that out and I am always on top of that, he knows for a fact that you guys are going to have the latitude to do whatever you want without interruption. And once I understood that, dude, it was smooth sailing with everybody.
No, yeah, I think you bring up a good point. And it's funny because like even though we're talking about the morning report and how much it like that little thing can stress you out, it shows you you're like that top 10%, right? Because we
Sure.
just talked about the Marines that give a shit, you're around select, you're like, or the other service members. I can name, and mind you, I know I would have been the same way. I'd have been losing my mind over this morning report because really what it ultimately comes down to is you don't want to let the person down that puts you in charge of it. It's not so
Exactly.
much that it's important. They gave you this one thing and you don't want to let them down. I'm going to make sure it gets done because that was important to that person who I respect. Um, and I think that's like, you can apply that to almost anything in the military. When you talk about the people who do the extra effort uh, to get things done, and I think that's why we were there at MOTS, to be honest with you. And hopefully we pass it on to our students. Like I think, honestly, I don't know what your experience was. I think this episode could turn into a MOTS episode, but I don't really want it to. But
Yeah, we can do
um,
everything.
yeah, we can do whatever. And hey, cheers! You
Cheers.
first guest to drink, right? Yeah, yeah.
That's what I
But
do. I'm a trendsetter. That's how we're gonna do it. Uh, John's podcast gonna be number one in the country. You better watch it. I'm telling you.
all right. No, but I think my experience and when I went through as a student, and again, not talking bad on that because I learned a lot, whatever. Uh, but I saw like this, and again, it might have been me not understanding, but I saw like this air of superiority coming from the instructors of like, and mind you, they definitely had the knowledge, the qualifications, the respect to have that on their shoulders, right? I
Yeah.
know for us, at least what I thought is us as an instructor cadre, we did our best to humble ourselves and not pass that on to the students, but also, teach them properly and be a little bit more guiding. I don't really know how to put that, but I always thought like, and you mentioned Corey and Bruffy and who's it? Elizabeth. She changed her last name. It was Corey. They
Yeah.
got another name now.
Steckler, Lizzie Steckler now.
Steckler, Brown was there.
Yeah.
Duran. You mentioned all these people. Uh, I told you I came to Mott's kicking and screaming, but once I figured out who was coming there with me, and I didn't know you, but I mean, I'm glad you were there. But like those same names I had worked with, I was like, oh, I can work with these guys again. These guys are top. They're top tier.
Yeah.
Um, I thought that was important too, just having the right personalities in the office up there.
Yeah, it sure was, and I think, and I tell everybody, I was like, Mott's actually, my entire career, Mott's was the greatest duty station I've ever been in because I met so many high quality individuals and made me a better person. But one of the things that I did see, and you make a great point. Whenever I went through the course, as well, you had all these great minds there. Um, really high performing, Marine Corps athletes, we'll call them, right? They are top notch. They know everything about all their equipment, all that stuff. But yeah, you did feel a sense of like you were almost belittled because you didn't
Yeah,
have that. I think what we brought, we had a unique, let's say, I think we meshed together in a very unique way to where we all understood that we can be some of the smartest people there and not be pompous about it. And there were
yeah.
certain people that would be pompous about it. I won't name names because I'd never, I talk smack to people's face. I don't,
I
if
mean,
I'm,
I had my pompous moments.
yeah, I think all of us have our pompous moments. I have that too. So I'm not perfect, and that's why I'm not going to name any names of what rubbed me the wrong way. But I will say this: I think we did a good job of letting the students say things and be able to say, instead of like, "What the hell are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense. You're ridiculous. Get back in there." It was like, "Okay, we get where you're coming from, but we want you to kind of incorporate this." So I think we did a good job of adjusting our instructorship to meet their motives,
Yeah.
I guess. They're all going to come up with stuff differently. And MOTS was great because there wasn't one way to do any one of those operations. We did it a million different ways, and we got our ass whooped sometimes, and we whooped some ass sometimes. Yeah, except for OAW. Unfortunately, we always get killed in that one, but at
It's
least
rigged.
ATC did. Um, Everybody who said that we won that, I was like, well, they know where we are.
Well, they would always win on a technicality, right? Like
Y-
thank God that the the air guys would be able to take us out in this simulated thing because
that's what I'm
I
saying.
want
It's
to know
like,
I want to know that our missiles and our capabilities will just take out anything, but like it would always be on a technicality, like, hey, we won because they didn't strike all the targets.
yeah,
Oh, but they struck 6 of the targets, right?
yeah,
Like,
and they struck 6 of the main targets that matter. You know what I mean? And then we have these fake missile silos or whatever, like it, but it
yeah,
was good, and I think we did a good job ultimately to circle back with everything. I think we did a great job of giving them the latitude to have confidence in their ideas while still maintaining that, hey, you can't do this because it's against these, joint orders, joint policies, whatever they are. We rein that in pretty good. But if it was an idea that it was in some sort of box. I don't know where they got the box, but it was in the box somewhere. We just kind of let them go with it, and we said we should be good enough to provide them things on the fly when these things don't work. They have to learn that they don't work and why they don't work. And once we did that, there were sometimes it would work, and we'd look at each other and just say, that might be something that we need to put into these things. Because I don't think Mott's before us, I think, thought that what they said went. Mott's, with us and after us, I think it molded into the fleet is going to determine how these go. We are just the stewards of making it, taking their ideas and helping perfect them for joint policy to employ later on. And I think that's what we're seeing now. I mean, just
yeah.
look at the Iran thing. When you're talking joint policy, it wasn't a set group of 15 dudes and dudettes in a room saying this is how it's going to work. It was each individual agency coming together saying what they can bring to the table and how that's all going to mesh together. And then bam, look what we do. We go into Iran and we smoke some nuclear sites. We go into Venezuela and we snatch up Maduro's dumbass, and all without, taking casualties. Like that is what we were striving for. Um, and that's why I say it's literally the best duty station I could have ever been a part of. Um, just to watch you guys in action, I would go out there and be like, man, all I'm doing is loading
Dude,
people on a helicopter today.
don't I mean, I will, pump you up, give you some credit where credit's due because I've seen you, single-handedly control many, many times when the controller out there, was kinda junior and couldn't handle the stress of a lot of things coming in and, inclement night weather, dust, or whatever it was, and you just being cool and collected and taking over and showing that you still had it. I saw it, and I was like, "Damn, dude, he's got it." Like, if you woulda asked me to mind you, I'm a different kind of controller, but I hadn't controlled in a long time, even at MOTS. And if they
Right.
would have asked me to do an LFE, it'd have been a train wreck. So
Well, then, hey, listen, I come out there. I feel like I still have it. I mean, I got a job with Midwest ATC right now, so I better still have it because otherwise I'm going to get fired. Um, having our team, ATC guys, uh, you know, with Pyburn there,
yep.
it made it so much easier because that guy is literally probably top 2 in the MOS. I don't care if he's just a master sergeant right now. Pyburn's probably top 2 guy in the MOS, and he proved it every day out there. So always having him there to bounce off my ideas and he wasn't scared to tell me that I was being an idiot. Um, in certain aspects, just like I would tell him, I'm not scared to tell him that he's being an idiot. I actually made a career of it because he was my lance corporal back in the day. But he he is such an interesting person to watch whenever he's doing it, and you can learn a lot from him. I learned a lot to handle some of that stuff by the way he approached his students because he controlled more than all of us, you know,
Yeah.
hands down, simply because of his job as the MMT chief. Um, so it would be dumb of me not to ask it. I would go up to him sometimes and say, "Hey, when you're controlling at night, what are some of the things that you look for?" Because I feel like this particular detachment company, whatever is coming out, they have some junior guys I'm going to have to take over. I want to make sure that when I do take over, it's not in a manner that one takes them out of the fight. You tell them, "Hey, you suck, you're done, get out of here." You may never get them again. That might break them. So I
Yeah.
would talk to Pyburn about how he approaches it, and him and I tried to approach our controlling authority in the same way that um, he would do out, on the MFT side. I would do it out at Ox 2 or Laguna,
Mhm.
any of the places that we went. That's how I would do it. But one thing that I pride myself on is you don't have to be the best controller, but you do have to understand and just apply your plan. If you apply that plan, odds are it's going to work out because my job's the only thing that's just rooted in rules. There's a rule
Yeah.
for everything. I wish TAOC sometimes where I could be like, you know what? Flight levels start at 200 feet. Let's do it. And they just go because you make up that kind of thing from your tactical plans and things like that. And what you guys want to do, that's what you do. Me, I get, thrown in jail for not following some of these orders. So that's kind of what drove us. But yeah, the teamwork that we had, that was it, man. Loved it.
Sweet. Yeah, no, I agree. I think it was a good time. I actually had, well, you've seen some of the guests I've had on here, and you're my first ATC guest. I think I've had a lot of controllers on here, and we've kind of shit on ATC a little bit just because,
As
like
you should.
as we should, right? No, because like there's this like everybody in the controlling, like you hear like, oh, I'm a controller. They just assume you're ATC. Clearly, I'm not ATC. I can't read that well to learn the FAA rules and regulations or apply them. Um, but yeah, so another thing I've noticed is like throughout my entire career is everybody assumes every Marine is a rifleman, and we are, or infantry, or whatever it is. And I think one thing this podcast is really opening up the eyes to is there's other jobs out there.
Right.
There's other career fields. There's professionals. Um, so far, I've had nothing but Marines on. I should have an Army or a Navy guy on here pretty soon. But I think it's really awesome to hear your professionalism, your uh the careness you put into your job and your career, and knowing that there's other jobs out there for Marines, just so as people are deciding whether they want to join the military or not, they don't have to stick to one career. There's other things out there.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I mean you make a good point, especially about today's day and age of the Marine Corps. At least whenever I retired and you retired before me, and you saw it molding as we were doing it from MOTS. But seeing the way the Marine Corps is going in the future with uh, interoperability, connectivity, all the crazy buzzwords that we used to talk about, that we use every day for the joint force fight. In reality, that's what it is. And I think today, I want to say that it's the most capable Marine Corps that is ever been. And I think it's because a lot of these guys have started to choose these jobs they didn't know exist. Like, you're saying every Marine's a rifleman. Yeah, I can shoot. I know you can shoot. You know, some people, not so good, but I think we shoot pretty good. Um, but shooting wasn't our thing. Me, whenever everybody looks at me, is like, what do? Air traffic control. You get the aircraft to On target. No, I bring them home. I get them up in the air and I give them to other agencies to be able to do that. And now that you see a lot of these kids are starting to see that, hey, there's more to it than just being a rifleman. There are specialties there, such as intel, um, tactical air control, all these random jobs that you would never think a Marine is going to do. They're out there doing it, and they're doing it well because that's where their mindset is in a really complex structure. So as we start to get away from that, I think right now we're going to start to see the Marine Corps trend in that C3 environment in a capacity that we've never seen before, and it's going to be one of the most. This is the jarhead in me. It's going to be one of the most ruthless things that you will ever see happen on a battlefield, and you won't hear a gun fire one time. It'll be
Yeah.
just us controlling the battle space, doing what we want with air power and maneuvering things into position to where it's almost impossible for the enemy to mess with us. So I'm pretty excited for the Marines of the future. And now that they know that we exist, um, we can also get some more of these mines outside of that to do contracting, to do ATC work outside
Yeah.
um, of the Marine Corps, of the Navy, of the Army. It's weird that I actually work with. I got hired on at a contract tower, and I work. They're all ex-military guys, 2 Air Force guys, an Army
Oh, sweet.
guy, and a Marine. Why? Because you know
The best of what
they
you do.
they care about it, and that's what we
Yeah.
do. And at the end of the day, we all care about safety. When I got out, I had no clue what I was going to do. I was like, ATC, I don't know, maybe it'd be an ops guy. I'd go manage Amazon. You gave me a call, talked about the contracts and stuff, and just saying, hey, these are open. You can put your resume in, but just want to give you opportunities. Which, again, I want to say to your face, I appreciate you for that. That was
Man, I wish it would have worked out for you. We were going to honestly really wanted to work with you again. I love working with you. I love this. You say you go on and on, but man, I know we could go on about other stuff too.
oh, dude, I could talk for
But
hours.
I wanted to work with you, like, because you know, selfishly, I wanted to hang out with Matt on, you know, uh, I missed that MOTS time
Well, don't you worry. If you ever find yourself in Missouri, we'll go fishing. I got a place for you to stay and everything. You come out here.
for sure. Actually, well, I brought it up, but you brought up a good point too. We talk about every Marine a rifleman. We talk about lethality of the Marine Corps. But it made me think of this thing, and we talked about it while we were at MOTS too. Um, I know you weren't involved in it, but you were really close friends with people who were involved with it, with the was it the pull out of
Oh, the
Afghanistan and
Kabul
stuff like
exit.
that? Yeah, so specifically, Marine ATC were like the last on the ground, right? And
Right.
you find yourself, you're really like, wait a second, the infantry had already left, the security forces already left. Yeah, and I know you said you had some buddies that were there.
Yeah. So, uh, good friend of mine, Kevin Hanschild, he ended up winning the Bronze Star from actions out in Kabul. Um, he So him and I were at Max 2 together. So Kevin Hanschild, he ended up winning the Bronze Star in there. Him and I were at Max 2. He was down in New River. I was up at headquarters. Al Mediati retired, and I was a sit-in until Hackworth and I changed places. This was when Hackworth was coming to be the ops chief. He was recently selected in Master Guns, coming over there to take the spot, and him and I were going to switch. So uh, I talked to Heidi Sykes, who is the opso at the time. She was super fun to work with. Uh, she used to like just run me into the ground. It was great. I had a blast. She tells me that there's an opening for the MEU staff NCOIC, and so I give Kevin a call and tell him, hey, you told me that you need to change the scenery, that you were wanting to do something. I got an opening for the MEU for staff NCOIC if you want it. And he told me that he'd do it. I told Heidi. Heidi called him, said, hey, you're on it. And that's how he got placed on there. And then his team, the MMT, the Marine Air Traffic Control Mobile Team, uh, that was going to go out there, he was able to get them all selected and who was going to do it. We kind of staffed them and kind of put together the team. Left it a lot in Kevin's hands because he was going to be leading those guys, and not only a staff NCOIC, but he's senior air traffic controller out there. So they put together this team. Jose Mendez, he was their A leader, and he ended up also winning the Bronze Star. You know, proud of him. Was able to go to his ceremony for that. Unfortunately, you know, the circumstances surrounding how they got the Bronze Stars is you know, you don't wish that on anybody. You know, they'd gladly give them back
Right.
just to not have to deal with that. Um, but they came out and we did several operations where I would go out and Hanshao would come out. I would be out there training. We'd send our MMT uh, instructors out there to start training their team. So we did some Atlantic Field ops, some Oak Grove ops, watch them start to mold. And sitting back thinking about it, I was like, wow, we put these together as kind of a team. You know, Hanshao did the majority of the stuff. But as we were sitting manpower, we're like, these are the people that are available. These are the teams that are available. This looks like to be a good mesh of people. Let's get them trained. Let's get them out there. Not even thinking that they were going to experience what they
Yeah.
experienced. And in hindsight, you know, I was like, you know, we accidentally, as a team, as a Max 2 team, accidentally put together the most perfect air traffic control team that we could have put together for that specific operation. And I gotta look at it like it's mind blowing to me how we all came together, we all decided on these specific people to go on a MEU, knowing deep down that hey, if they get into it, you know, this is the team that's going to deal with it. Like that's the bottom line. But we accidentally put together the most perfect team of people from the Max 2 side, and then you know, the control group put together its perfect team of people with Tapeworm.
Hmm.
He was in charge out there um, as the group OIC. So like that, he's a MOTS guy, so he's got all this experience. Hans Child's a WTI. Um, and so we put them together, and then we're like, okay, Jose Mendez is going to the MMTI course to gain that extra knowledge to continue training his guys up to the point of where they deploy. Well, he came out and he's working with Pyburn, but I see them all the time. I'm talking to him. And a couple of the operations, Jose was struggling a little bit. And what, you know, he may not want me to put this out there, um, but I think it's really relevant to the story. So Jose Mendez had a rough go of AST-3, which is our Assault Support Tactics 3 mission, where we do an actual non-combatant evacuation operation. We're actually extracting people from 29 Palms and all these places, right? We're extracting them and we're training for that. He went out there and had a rough time. You know, Pyburn and I talked about it. We talked to him about it. We sat down, had come to Jesus moments with him, just because it's like, hey, like this is a critical piece because this is the one operation that we don't do that often. Anybody does a fart, like we go out there and talk to helicopters all day, like that's nothing. Set up an airfield for jets, C-130s, whatever, like that's easy. Doing an extraction of American citizens and other people, it's so complex and we never do it. Barely ever.
Hmm.
So he had a rough go at that and we talked to him. You know, he started to lock in and started to do better. Well, guess what? His redemption was a lifetime event. And I can't
Hmm.
tell you, like, it makes my heart so happy to see how they performed in such a hostile and, you know, unbelievably stressful and unknown environment. I don't know if I could have even been able to perform like that. That's why I said I think those guys were the best group of people. They were trained by us at MOTS, but ultimately they trained each other and they were
Yeah.
ready to take that on and watching them do that. And I know that that was a rough time for them, but I love that team. I'll brag. about Kevin as a buddy of mine, not to live off his clout or anything. I'd never do that. I mean, he's a
No,
handsome
no,
fella.
absolutely not.
But Kevin's one of my really good friends. He truly cares about his Marines, and you could see it the way he went out there and led them, and the way he helped foster that ability for them to do what they did. They were talking to aircraft 40 miles away. Tower controllers don't have no radar, man. Like they're looking with their Mark One eyeballs. They can't see but 5 to 6 miles out. And they're talking to guys 40 miles out coming in, trying to sequence them with people on the runway. There's so many different avenues they're getting shot at. I love those guys, man. And
Yeah.
just being a part of that, being a part of the entire team that was able to begin that process of getting that team together, and you send them out there and they continue to do what they did back in the day, or you were back, before they deployed, which was excel at training, excel in the little things. They were phenomenal. Love those guys. That's probably one of the most important parts of my career. And it wasn't even something that directly happened to me. It was something that I just was able to experience a part of the planning process, which, and I
Yeah.
think, unbelievable, unbelievable, those guys. And if Kevin sees this, like, I love you, dude. Like, hands down, love him to death. And he did such a great job. Now he's retired and he's doing air traffic
Oh,
control
he's
as
retired
well.
now too?
Yeah, he's retired now too. He's doing air traffic control in New Bern, actually, New Bern, North
Yeah, I
Carolina.
would love to have him on too, to hear his,
Oh
like,
yeah, you
what the
hit him
boots on
up
the
and
ground, like, how was it like? Because I think that's such a unique perspective. To your point, I remember us talking about it in the office, and, um, I remember a couple of those guys coming through, but, um, it was such a big event, and then you go, "Who's there on the deck?" And it was our guys.
right.
It was guys from our community, more so your community, ATC guys, but, I mean, we're so close-knit, um, you kinda own it, like, you own up to it, because yeah, you're not trying to take their clout, you're just so proud of the community and,
Oh yeah,
what they're
and
doing right
even
there.
our Marine TAC guys, the TAC community, they were back over in on the ship, and they're getting this information, and they're sending them resources to do whatever they needed to do. Um, and those resources came as well as they could, man. I don't, something like that. I don't think that you can never plan for a situation like that. And the fact that that team of, Marine Air Control Group people on those ships that got the assets, got the things we needed, when your special ops CCT guys, your Air Force dudes show up and they're like, we don't need to control, we'll just protect you. That's when you know you're doing a good job. That's when you know you're doing it, and you give them the free reign. Our guys were able to be so good at their job that it gave those special ops dudes free reign to go do what they do best, which is smoke people, and call in
Yeah.
airstrikes and do the thing they need to do. So
Yeah, man. I'm gonna shift gears a little bit,
let's do it.
so, you when'd you retire? You said, it's
So I
not been long,
retired.
right?
Yeah, officially I retired October 31st of last year. I got
Nice.
back on terminal leave around July of last year. I had terminal leave, and then I had PTAD from Okinawa. It was great. So I had like 110 days or something.
So, okay, so I'm gonna ask what could be the easy question, but might be the hard question. So what is Matt's priority now? So you're not in the Marine Corps now, you don't have Marines to take care of, like, what are you doing now?
So my priority now is to just be a present husband and a father. Um,
There you go.
I think, and again, if you ask my wife, she would probably say, sometimes you're not that present. That stupid cell phone. And she's right. But my goal is to be a present husband and father. Um, my wife stuck it out 19 out of the 22 years of my career. She was with me. Um, then you have, my son's 15. My oldest son, Jacob, is 15. My youngest is 9, Hunter. They have been through such a rough go of it, and their entire lives have been the Marine Corps. So I want them to be able to settle down. I want to be present for them, take them on camping trips, not really care about my job, so to speak, in a manner of I need to be there all the time. I need to answer the phone the second somebody calls me. I'm in a point now to where if I don't want to work overtime, I'm not going to do it. If I want to take a day off, I'm going to do it. And they're going to be like, "Hey, we need you. Hey, I have paid time off, brother, and I'm taking it." Um, so that's my number one goal, and the second goal is to just be at peace with with everything I've accomplished in my Marine Corps career, but also figure out how to continue to make an impact on at least my community back here in Missouri, um, and go fishing, bro. Like that's, I mean, that's it. I have the best life here. My kids get to finally stay in one school till they're done. We're close to great universities. We're close to lakes. We're close to family. My sister lives right next door to me. So it's nice to be able to see them all the time and watch my families grow up together. My wife's side and my side of growing up together and being there for what we missed. That's my number one goal, dude. And that's what I'm gonna be for the rest of my time. I put my time in, and now it's me time, I think.
Yeah, dude, I think you hit it on the head, man. I'm glad you're there, dude, and looks like you gotta top off again. But no, you said,
Yeah, I do.
be at peace. I love that, dude. I think, and I wish that on everybody that, well, whether you serve 22 years, you serve 4 years, you serve whatever it is. I think a lot of us just slow down and be present. Like you said,
Yeah.
be present for your family. Something that we take advantage of as veterans. I definitely did. I took advantage of always being at 100, 1,000 miles per hour and then not knowing what's going on outside of what's going on in the military, and then
Right.
being able to slow down and be present. I think that's really awesome, dude.
Yeah. And I truly appreciate it only because, you guys are all just like me. It's like even though we would say, we might say publicly, shit, I don't care. Like I'm gonna show up late. Deep down, you're like, I gotta be there on time. I gotta be 15 minutes early. I gotta do this. And then afterwards, I gotta stay at work until 9 o'clock. That takes a toll on you. And normally I would tell the audience, or at least the veterans or the ones that are still serving, say, like, yes, things can wait till tomorrow. But in the eyes of your bosses, in the eyes of the military, can it really? And we always said, no, we gotta attack this right now because we know how much is going to come up tomorrow. Um, Things can wait till tomorrow, but if you're truly dedicated, you devote all your time to that Marine Corps lifestyle, to your Marines. Like if you called me and it's my anniversary and you need my help, guess where I'm going? I'm going to you because that's what our life is. And that's now I can say, hey, sorry, I can't make it. I got an anniversary dinner with my wife. Well, where are you going? We're going to Taco Bell just because we've been married for so long, but I'm still going, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome. You really eat Taco Bell?
Oh no, not too often. Not too often, man. Unless you
Is
want to
that
test out a theory and see how long it takes for you to get to the bathroom and back.
is that like Missouri's version of, good, Mexican food?
Yeah, it's probably number two. There Missouri doesn't have a lot of great places to eat, but there's some good stuff around.
That's awesome, dude. Alright, well, dang, I don't even know. You've said so much. I'm trying to, like, go back and peel back the onion, but, I think, you just retired. You've been out not quite a year yet. Is there, like, some struggles you went through or some, like, things you didn't know about or didn't expect as you were getting out? I think you came from Oki too in Japan, so
Yeah.
you like,
Retiring out of Okinawa, it obviously, as most people know, as you probably know, it's harder to get out than it is to get in. Um, it's the fear of the unknown. You've had this structure for so long and all of a sudden you get out and you're like, now you have to find your own structure. and you get worried about things that you really do in your day-to-day life. You just don't realize it because the Marine Corps has you in this little box, but you're taking care of yourself all the time. But when you get out there, there's nobody cares about you more than you. Um, in the normal world. I mean, Marines as veterans like you, I care about what you do every day just because I like to see you succeed. If you ever needed me, I'd be there. Same with all of my other friends that I made. If you ever need me, I'll be there. Because we've developed that bond. But outside of those people, man, when you start talking to other people, they don't care what you did, who you are. And I wasn't used to that. And it really bothered me. Um, that they wouldn't just sit there and want to bullshit like we're bullshitting right now. They don't care to talk to you, and they won't, and they just go away. The next thing was, I think I was really nervous about my future simply because I knew I was getting a retirement check. Um, I didn't know what I really wanted to do. I knew ATC was going to be at the main source of it, whether it was like a manager at an airport, manager of facility, some sort of aviation guy. That's what I wanted to do. But the opportunities back here in Missouri, where we chose to settle down, were not abundant. So I was a little nervous about that. And in the last 6 months before I got out on terminal, were probably the hardest because I had had some discussions with some of my officers saying, "Hey, I'm getting ready to retire, so I got to get some things in order. I'm building a house. I'm trying to figure out life insurance. I'm trying to figure out all these little nitnoid details that you don't think about normally in the Marine Corps." And a couple of them would come up to me like, "Hey, you're not doing as much as you normally do." And that hurt me a little bit because I was like, I'm doing as much as I can do, but you don't realize that I am trying to set up for my life after the Marine Corps. Because whenever I get out, you're still going to be going here. You're still going to be under that umbrella, but you won't be taking care of me anymore at
Yeah.
all. So somebody's got to take care of me. And I needed to sacrifice some stuff. And I even said it in my retirement speech. I was like, I know the last couple months I haven't done as much as I normally do. I chalked it up to just I took care of my Marines and that was it. Everything else I had to go after myself. So I think that was the hardest transition for me, was right there, that period. Once I got out, I have a good support system here, and I encourage everybody to have that. Hopefully, not only is it your wife and your kids and things to support you because they're going to, and they're going to go through it too. They're going to have some issues. It's having that support structure of people, family, close friends that know you, and even, your other military friends that might still be in, to just reach out and talk to each other daily to find out what you're doing. I still talk to Kevin Hochschild all the time now. Like, he'll call me every now
That's
and
awesome,
then.
dude.
And I need to call him again because he told me last time he told me, he said, "Don't make me call you all the time." Cause I don't really call a lot of people. I don't know why, but whenever he calls me, I love talking to him. So I need to call him, keep that support structure. Um, And I would say, yeah, that's the hardest part, is just finding out that when it's you who care about you, you know, it becomes a lot more stressful,
I
I guess.
I think yeah, no, man, I think everything you said is true. I think I have a really strong support structure as well, and um, I think that's what's made me have a successful, retirement so far. I've been out for, close to 3 years,
Yeah.
so I think I'm, almost over the hill of being retired. We'll see what it is, but, no, it's that, I still reach out to and, I definitely now you're retired, I'll start bugging you more, but, um, I reach out to my buddies at least once or twice a week, different guys, just checking in on them. And it really goes back to that same thing as still caring about the Marines around you, right?
Right.
Still caring because, yeah, we took our boots off, but I don't think the mission ever went away, right?
Yeah. And I don't think it ever will. Right. And that was one of the things I always used to say to some of the younger Marines when I was a staff sergeant and a gunny. I was just like, You know what? I'll get out of the Marine Corps when I just hate it. When I come in and I look at y'all and I'm just disgusted to see you. Like I look at you, I'm like, man, I hate your problems and I hate your guts. I'm out of here. I realized that I will never hate the Marine Corps. No matter what it does, no matter it could have done anything to me. I will never hate it just because I will never hate the individuals who choose to take that path that I took. I respect them so much, regardless of whether or not they came in because they were poor. They came in because they had nothing else to do. They came in because it was a bet, or they came in because they just wanted to be a Marine. At the end of the day, everybody becomes your family, and you can never hate that. You can never be upset. So when you said, the mission never ends, I that's probably the most truest statement on the planet, dude. Is it really never
Yeah.
does. I care about all these dudes that are still in the Marine Corps grinding for us. Corey's a lieutenant colonel. Travis Powell's a major, is going to be a great lieutenant colonel. He's going up to the Pentagon to go do great things. Jose Mendez, a master sergeant now. Pyburn, my little Padawan, that dude's going to be a master guns eventually. I know it because he's awesome. Just watching these guys' success stories, I'll never give it up, dude. I love every second of it, every second. And I
Yeah,
cheer
man.
for him on the news, bro, every time.
Who's on the news?
Oh, just any military service member, dude.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
When
yeah.
we snatched Maduro's little wussy little butt, he said, "Come for us." Oh man, that made me so happy. Even though it was, Delta Force that went in there and got him, like I'm just thinking to myself, like the amount of people that were involved in all of that to get that to happen the way it did. I
Oh,
mean,
I
gotta
guarantee there were
love
some
those dudes.
Marines on them ships. I
Oh
guarantee
yeah.
there were some Marines on those ships controlling those flights in or whatnot.
Oh,
So
100%, and they were ready to go too. They were ready to take them ashore if they had to, and we'll go put our feet down in Venezuela and see what's up. And they weren't scared to do it. They weren't afraid of the implications of that. They were concerned about each other, and that's what we have as a service, man.
well, it's funny because I think there was a bunch of memes that came out. I don't know, it was like Instagram reels or right before all that was going down, and they were like, "Oh, they're gonna send the Marines in," and they were like trying to say, "Oh, Venezuela's got like 3 million soldiers and Marine Corps only got," and I was like, and they were making these jokes like, "Oh, that's the Marines. They see that as uh that's not even a challenge. They're just gonna that's target practice right
Yeah,
there."
that right there, yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. I remember seeing some guys like, they have X amount of million of people, whatever. I said, they got a battalion landing team on that freaking ship that had been cooped up on that fucker for like 5 months. They are ready to go cause some hate and discontent. And I'm telling you, you better send everybody. And it's kind of like, I watch some podcasts, Sean Ryan, I watch him a lot.
Yeah, I watched Sean Ryan.
He
Yep.
had Shrek McPhee on there, and
Mhm.
Shrek McPhee was talking about the Operation Red Wings that Marcus Luttrell was involved in, and he's like, I didn't really understand it from my point of view, and he's like, not to be disrespectful, I didn't understand it from my point of view because he's like, tell your buddies to bring their friends, tell them to bring all their trucks and their tanks, and we will kill all comers. That is what, and I think the Marines on that ship, like, you can bring everything you want. We will handle every single one of you, and it will be probably one of the most violent things that you've ever seen, but you'll stop fighting us simply on the fact that we are laughing while we're doing it. Like that is what the Marine Corps does. So just listen to those guys. They get a kick out of it. The internet's undefeated. They always come out with shit like that. But at the end
Yeah.
of the day, anybody who messes with today's Marine Corps is probably going to have the worst night or nights of their life, depending on how long they survive it.
Yeah, so true, man. All right, well, I'm gonna end it there because it's been an hour, even though I think we could go for many, many hours.
Oh, I could go
And
forever.
maybe I'll have you back on to tell me some of your like dirtiest stories.
Oh, I could, dude. I got a
No,
whole bunch.
no, yeah, I'll definitely have you. I do want to end it there because I think it's a good time to end it. But I appreciate you coming on, man. I appreciate you supporting this little channel I have and being part of it as we grow. And the message you have, believe it or not, man, is really strong. And I think it's something to share. So I thank you.
I appreciate it, John, and you having me on here is whenever I saw your podcast with Jay Mancola, I was just like, man, I was blown away just because one, watching two of my favorite people on there talking and just bullshitting with each other, and you guys are such great personalities. I love it. Um, I appreciate you inviting me on. I'm very humbled to even be considered to talk about this just bullshit because that's we were bullshitting the whole time. I got to talk and you let me run your mouth, and you're probably like, man, I shouldn't have done that. But
No, no, you're good.
I mean, the greatest part is that you consider me, and I love you like a brother, and I'm so glad you're doing well. I hope the family's doing well. Um, and I'd love to come back on whenever you want. I'll tell you some dirty stories. I'll tell you some funny stories. You got to bring Hastings on. You ought to try having like a group thing where all of us instructors that our core group, see if you could do that. That'd be cool.
Well, you're not the first person to say to have a group thing, and I'm actually definitely it's going to be in the works. I do preference that I'm keeping my show to veteran only, not active duty, just because I don't want active duty guys to get in trouble for sharing their
Well,
their
yeah.
dirty, nasty stories. Um, but no, absolutely, dude. Yeah, I think that would be a great concept to have a bunch of us, maybe even get because I actually started buying some gear to do a live, start doing some more live, like start implementing like people with me.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, even if we got to get somewhere and set up some cameras and just bullshit for an hour,
Hey,
that would
I
be
bet you
awesome.
we'd all fly in for that. I fly in and do whatever.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been the unsung veteran. I appreciate this. If this is a story that you enjoyed or there's something that you like, it wouldn't hurt to give me a follow and support me.
Follow.
Thank you again.